Well, that was quick. So now we have the author of Project Hail Mary, Andy Weir, apologizing to Star Trek showrunner, or former showrunner, Alex Kurtzman, over comments he made on the Critical Drinker podcast that got picked up by media outlets, where he basically said current Star Trek is shit, and I pitched a show to them and they didn't take it, so fuck them. But he also did say in that interview repeatedly that he thought Alex Kurtzman was a nice guy personally. He just didn't agree with the direction they were taking Star Trek in.
And he also said he liked other aspects of Star Trek. He just didn't like, this show. And he wasn't wrong, because the general audiences feel the same way. But then people were like, wow, it's just wrong of him to be like basically punching down other authors when he has this fame right now. And I'm like, you know what? I get tired of that, because basically you can never criticize anyone. And if you don't get criticized or you don't bring up weaknesses, then you're never going to improve or change.
Yeah. So it's interesting though, because I think what's going to happen, there were a lot of people that were incredibly pissed off that he even went on Drinker's podcast. Mm-hmm. And they were doubly pissed off when his comments made mainstream media outlets, and it was, like all over the place, and kind of blew up. And maybe he didn't realize, when he made those comments, that it would blow up the way that it blew up. But I think what's going to happen as a result of this is that people are going to be like, well, we can't go on those YouTuber shows anymore because, those alt-right chuds might, talk us into saying something that we don't want to say.
But what he said wasn't untrue.
No, it's not untrue.
And people in general didn't watch it.
So let's talk about this. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And this is a follow-up to a video we actually just did yesterday talking about Andy Weir's appearance on Drinker's podcast and how some offhand comments he made the rounds all over the media, and now he's apologizing publicly. So this is what he said. An open letter to Alex Kurtzman. Hey, Alex, Andy Weir here. I'm posting to apologize about stuff I said on the Critical Drinkers podcast. I feel like my quotes were taken out of context as salacious sound bites.
I don't really know how you can take that out of context, but okay.
I hope you saw the other parts where I said how much I like you as a person, what a nice guy you are, which we pointed that out too.
Yeah, and so did the media. So that wasn't just a soundbite.
Also how I like Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. Okay.
Which he did say.
I was trying to be funny, but in retrospect, it comes off as disrespectful and mean.
No, it came off as honest. Honestly, what it all came off as that was your honest opinion. And now you're trying to apologize for it because people behind the scenes probably told you you're in trouble.
So that's probably what happened. Probably somebody tapped him on the shoulder and was like, hey, yeah, if you ever want to work on Star Trek again. No, actually, if I were the Ellisons, I'd be like, you know what? Kurtzman's gone. Bring this guy in. He just made a bunch of money on this movie. This movie just made a shit ton of money. Bring this guy in.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm sorry for that. I was also trying to be self-deprecating when I said, but they didn't like my pitch, so fuck them.
That's not self-deprecating.
No. I would tell somebody that to their face. I have told people that to their face.
It can read like I actually meant it. No, you actually meant it. That wasn't self-deprecating. Self-deprecating would be like you're making fun of yourself. You just said they didn't like my pitch, so go fuck them. That isn't self-deprecating.
No, and I'd be the same way. I'd be like, I would be a lot more vocal than he was. I'd be like, hey, motherfuckers, I just had a massive hit movie that just broke all records, and you wouldn't even put me on Star Trek, so get fucked.
So what I'm hearing, all I'm hearing between the lines is there's a bunch of night letters came through.
That's what I'm thinking probably
It'd be a real shame if, because you said that. Anyway, go ahead. I'm a blunt person, but now I'm walking it back.
Yeah, always have been. It's been 10 years since the media cared what I had to say about anything, so I kind of forgot to watch my words when I have a film in theaters. In a couple of months, I'll be back in my cave writing novels. No one will care again. Anyway, if you want to talk about it in real time, even if it's just to rip me a new one, I'm happy to hop on the phone or Zoom.
Okay, well, I appreciate the fact that he did offer an apology. I think it's not necessary because I don't think. I mean, so. He might have gone a little far, but I don't think what he said was wrong. He was like, it's not that great. He said some of the things are good and I like them, but some of the stuff is just dog shit, and he's not wrong.
I mean, people were talking about him punching. You said that they were talking about him punching down. Like,
well, they didn't word it that way, but that was the implication.
How could he be punching down when, yes, they made a movie out of his book, but he is still a science fiction author, and Alex Kurtzman is the Hollywood executive making hundreds of millions of dollars to fuck up Star Trek, right? There's definitely an imbalance here, but it goes the other way.
Here's what it was. It was the Trek Central had author Don Winslow hits back at him saying, after Weir made comments about Paramount's handling of the show, he said, "Congrats on the success of Project Hail Mary and The Martian. I'm a real fan, but when you have your moment, don't use it to crap on other writers' work." And that's
they worked hard.
They worked hard. You know what? I'm sick of this. I'm sick of hearing this. Because what happens is this mentality that you can never criticize anybody else, especially if it's in the same vertical as you. Like, we were taught when I was in art school, you could to critique things and how to properly do so. And everybody needed to learn how to be able to give and take criticism. And we're at a point now, because it's supposed to help you grow, but we're at a point now that you are not allowed to criticize anything, especially if it has certain leanings, because that's just mean and you're basically punching down, and that's bullshit. Sometimes something you might be an expert in your field and something isn't good, and you are allowed to say, "I didn't feel this was as good as it could have been." I mean, calling it shit might not have been the way a lot of people would have gone about it. It's probably the way I would have gone about it, but it's not the way everybody would have gone about it. But that doesn't mean that your opinion is wrong, or or you aren't allowed to make an opinion saying, "I think this could have been better," because it might hurt somebody's feelings. This is bullshit, and this is why nothing ever gets better.
Yeah, and here it comes. The problem was he even appeared on that MAGA Grifters podcast.
The problem was
the
the stupid far leftist agenda-ridden show should never have existed in the first place. But if you really go to the core of the issue,
I think this is funny. This person correctly brings this up. A MAGA grifter drinker lives in Scotland.
Yeah, there you go. You're a deranged R-word. Yeah.
What the hell? It sucked. Everybody knows it. No need to say sorry. Yeah,
That's he got
night
Everybody
letters.
says that. Yeah,
he got night letters.
It'd be a real shame if you never get to work on anything again ever. We don't want to ever put your movies up because you look like you're problematic. I'm like, meanwhile, Rachel Zegler keeps getting work. How the fuck that happened?
Yeah, I know, right? I think what's going to happen now is people are going to lord this over him, and they're going to be like, "Oh, we know this guy will buckle. So all we got to do is just put you're going to be a good little boy and never go on another one of those alt-right podcasts, right? You're never going to speak your mind again, right? Because you want to get more of those sweet, sweet movie deals, right?" Yeah.
Well, like this other person, like they're saying, when's Kurtzman going to apologize for being disrespectful and mean?
No, he's not.
Yeah, he doesn't have to apologize. I mean, like this guy apologized, whatever. So he apologized. Okay, that's where he's at right now. I'm sure he got, like I said, night letters, and it'd be a real shame. And all his friends are writing him saying, "Oh, this is bad."
Yeah, this is very much. I mean, this is like a 2017 canceling going on here. Like, you better apologize. Apologize. It's never enough. I mean, we'll tell you. Don't. I mean, you can say, "Hey, I might have been wrong about whatever." I think when you're like,
man, I could have worded it better, but I still think it worded it better. These ones are good, but this one needs work. But he could have done that. But here's the thing: but people aren't watching it in general, and you're all like, "Oh, you're on that, critical drinkers, whatever." And I'm like, you know what? Mainstream people didn't know anything about any of these comments. Don't care. They're still going to go watch the movie. They still aren't going to watch the new Star Trek show.
No, and it's interesting to see the public opinion turn on Kurtzman Trek, because I remember a few years ago, like, you were not allowed to criticize Discovery, you were not allowed to criticize these shows at all. Now we've got comic book resources basically being like, yeah, the reason Star Trek is in the state it's in right now is because nobody's watching it. Kurtzman's going to be out the door, and it's just
because facts are facts.
It's just business. Nothing personal.
Facts. And I'm so fucking tired of, feelings are supposed to outweigh facts. It's bullshit. I'm sorry. You may personally like it. There's lots of shows that I've personally liked, but they got canceled because people weren't watching them. Did that mean that the show wasn't good? Well, in some cases, probably. But it also means people just didn't resonate with people. And even though I liked it, other people might not have liked it, and it wasn't enough to keep it on the air. And you know what? I didn't call anybody a bigot. I didn't go around screaming as other people said it was shit. I didn't do any of that stuff. I was like, I like it, but I get it has to be canceled because it just doesn't bring it. It's really not anything more than that.
I am still salty about them canceling Caprica, which is
never watched it. I know what it is.
Yeah, it was a prequel of Battlestar Galactica. They got one season out of it, and they clearly were going places with it. And they thought they were, because it was Battlestar Galactica, and that was pretty big back in the day, and they're like, well, we're obviously going to do more with it, so we're setting all the stuff up. And then they're like, yep, you know what, it's canceled. And then they basically condensed like everything they were going to do into like a little montage at the end of season 1. I'm like, what the hell was that? What the hell was that?
Yeah.
It's
But
like,
I'm just saying, I mean,
shit.
it's like, but people didn't watch it. And
They didn't watch it. No.
There wasn't a return on investment for them. So I understand. The fact of the matter is that it didn't have the audience to keep it on the air. My feelings might be like, that sucks, but the facts are going to outweigh my feelings. I'm not paying for the show. I don't get to dictate the show.
No, and they're bringing that up too. They're like, the reason they're putting the pause button on Star Trek is they basically need a guaranteed hit because these shows cost a lot of money. Paramount was in financial dire straits before the Ellisons took over, and we know once they bought it, they were going to lay a bunch of people off. Once they buy Warner Brothers, and that goes through, they're probably going to lay even more people off. They're going to cut even more projects, and they're going to look at everything and be like, okay, what is the most profitable stuff we can make? And it ain't going to be Starfleet Academy.
Well, yeah, it's going to be, what can we, if we're going to do Star Trek, I'm sure they're going to continue Star Trek, but we're going to do what's going to have mainstream, wide mass appeal. That's what they're going to go for. They're not going to go for the agenda shit, like the beginning of Picard and, Starfleet Academy and all that stuff. They're not going to go for that. They're going to go for what is going to bring fans back. We're going to get new fans from, and it's going to have a huge reach, and we're going to make money from. That's what they're going to focus on. They're not going to look at. They're not the CW.
No, it's interesting though. They go into the model for Star Trek. The reason that we had so much Star Trek in the '90s was because it was syndicated. Most of it was syndicated, and I didn't realize how lucrative it is. They said both Next Gen and Deep Space Nine had large budgets for their eras, but the syndication model meant the studio earned back almost all of it on its debut. The first rerun returned pure profit. Modern Star Trek is behind Paramount streaming paywall. Not only is this vertical integration less profitable while the service loses money, but it also doesn't allow these shows to find an audience that doesn't know they want it yet. Yeah, syndication, it was like Next Gen was on like 3 different local channels on different days. So it was on like Saturdays and Sundays and like Thursdays, depending on which channel was running it. And that was a whole, like, syndication back then was wild.
But that's very different, too, though, because back then you only had the TV to watch. Like, now you have streaming. We didn't have streaming then. So that's like apples to oranges, if you're actually going to compare it. Because I could make the argument, well, streaming then, there's no excuse because it's available, for anybody who has a service, like, every day. So that they're just completely different models. And that one might have made more money because it was back then and there wasn't as much competition. Now there's way more competition, like, exponentially more competition than there was then. So you really can't compare the two.
No, but it's weird because I think about it now, like, they had commercials for Star Trek, like, all throughout the week. And, it was a thing. I mean, all the syndicated shows were, like, huge back then. And, it's just weird to see like everybody get so like, why is it so hard to understand? The show costs too much. It's not very good. A lot of fans have been voicing complaints about it for the better part of a decade now, that they don't like it.
But the only reason, because criticism, because that's their identity. Because they're doing these shows based on agenda and identity politics. Because it's not just that the show isn't good. It's that if you don't like the show, you are personally a bigot criticizing what they identify with, and that's the problem too. And that's a dangerous thing from these studios, and they haven't figured that out yet. Also, because these people will attach themselves to it, and then if they make any wrong step, any misstep, they're going to come after you next because you didn't give them the identity they thought they should have.
Then write fan fiction. Because that's what this stuff is.
Plenty of that too, from my understanding.
Well, no, that's what this shit is. A lot of this stuff is just fan fiction. Like these people started out as fanfic authors, and then they wound up working as screenwriters. And now they're writing fan fiction with other people's characters. And that's the thing too. It's like you are dealing with legacy characters all the way around. When you fuck up a formula, it's like why did you buy Coke to turn it into new Coke that nobody wanted, right?
Right.
You could just made something from new,
this
right?
Isn't even a product. This is beyond a product. When you start making it, but it's representation, then you get these crazies that feel like they have to that you cannot criticize a show even for valid reasons, because if you're criticizing the show, you're criticizing them because they cannot separate themselves from
Yeah.
the show, and it's very. You saw it with She-Ra. We see it. It's insane. You're just going. It's like it's actual like and not everybody's like this. I want people to make sure they understand this. There's a lot of people who identify in different ways who do not behave this way. They do not behave this way. Like, oh, because there's a person on this show that identifies the way I do, that I have to protect the show at all costs, and the show's above reproach, and this is my identity. You can't attack it. Most people aren't like that. It is the mentally ill people that take it to the level of that's me, that you're tagging me. The majority of people who identify differently aren't like that. It's still a small group, but that small group are the ones out on the internet attacking everyone 24/7.
Yeah, and apparently they got to Andy Weir too. So we'll see.
I wouldn't have said sorry.
I wouldn't have either.
I would have said I'm sorry. Maybe I worded it the way I did, but I still feel that it was not well done.
Yeah. No, I would have been like, you know what? That's not just shit. It's dog shit. I'm sorry. I should have chose my words more carefully. It's
worse that it's a doggy diarrhea that you can't get off your shoe no matter how much you scrape. It's like that.
He actually did say nice things. He said, "Yeah, Kurtzman's a real nice guy."
We mentioned that.
People worked hard. I mean, yeah, it's got to be. I mean, that's got to be a dressing down to have the guy who wrote the book, that the top movie 2 weeks in a row, top movie in the country, wrote the book, and he's like, "Yeah, your Star Trek is shit." Yeah, that's got to be painful to read. Like, oh damn, But if I were the Ellisons, again, I'd be like, hey, yeah, maybe we should just hire this guy to run Star Trek. Can't do any worse, right? We gonna wrap it up?
Yep.
Please subscribe. We'll talk later.
Bye.